At the making of this video, the U.S. government is still shut down. Traditionally, they always cave in, and pressure is put on people, and they vote for raising the debt ceiling, which means more fiat money is printed by the privately owned Federal Reserve to allow paper money to flow around so the economy can have the appearance that it's working. This is a good time. This is a chink in the armor of the British-owned corporation, which is called the United States of America in capital letters, and they have that little city-state called the District of Columbia, which is a corporation. I've been asking myself and everyone, how come there's no money? If taxes are being collected, income tax and sales tax and all kinds of taxes, and licensing, how come there's no money left? And my opinion is that all the money is being funneled to the owners of the British corporation, the United States of America, which are probably the same people who bankrolled the original 13 colonies. So that's where the money is. It's gone. And when it comes to a cash crunch, we always have this raising the debt ceiling, which means printing more paper money. And if you've ever taken a little bit of a look at what causes inflation, depressions, recessions, it's too much paper money floating around that it's not backed up by anything. And the end of World War II, one of the stories is it took a wheelbarrow full of German marks to buy a loaf of bread because the actual money wasn't worth anything. And I think the same thing happened in Italy. And according to pundits, that's where the United States is headed. The paper money doesn't have any value. And as soon as that has to be admitted, then the value of the dollar will crash. And that's going to be painful for a lot of people. So the longer this goes on, the more people might become aware of this fact that the government, the federal government, is a privately owned British corporation which has been siphoning off the wealth of America since not too long after 1776. Actually, the original colonies went broke and had to go back to those same people and beg for more money, and a really bad deal was struck. And then in 1933, the New Deal was again a refinancing, which is an even worse deal because what was given up was all the gold, all the land, and all the people were turned into tax slaves in perpetuity. And they get you right at birth when your parents sign you over as a member of the corporation. So then suddenly all the laws of the British corporation apply to you. But it ain't necessarily so. So there's lots of political wrangling in the media where they're trying to make this thing look really bad so that enough people will put pressure on their representatives to vote through the lifting the debt ceiling. This is just a little tiny crack in the armor of the New World Order, which is actually the old world order out of Rome. It's still the Roman Empire. It's just morphed. I just got some figures about veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan non-wars. And 6,500 veterans are committing suicide per year. And these are the actual found bodies. Now, all the people who didn't commit suicide, who were very close to it, suicidal, are not showing up as a statistic. I have another source of data, and there's at least 20,000 of those people who are really suffering. That works out to 15 veterans a day are committing suicide. Or 1 out of 25 out of the people that came back are taking their own life for what they've seen and been asked to do on behalf of the United States of America Corporation. And at some point, American citizens are going to be asked to pay for the international crimes of the United States of America Corporation, because that's what people in other countries see, and they think that it's the wishes of the citizenry for the United States to be an imperialist power. Although it advertises itself as the home of the brave and land of the free, which is the branding they've had for quite a while. It's a Veterans Association that's trying to take care of these people. And a lot of them are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And there's a machine called a cranial electrostimulator, which is a great help in post-traumatic stress syndrome. The U.S. Army ordered 20,000 of them in secret from somebody. They didn't want anyone to know they bought these things, but they gave them out to the vets. So this would have something to do with the kind of patriotism where John Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." So these people have done for their country. And for the people committing suicide, it costs them everything. For those who are not winning at life, it's costing them almost everything. It's probably costing them their families, their relationships, their fortunes, their future. This kind of thing traumatizes the children as well. My father was in World War II and was one of the guys who liberated one of the concentration camps. He never recovered. He was never a normal, happy guy again. He was always distracted. He was always somewhere else. So this imperialistic rampaging around the planet after gold, oil, and drugs is kind of a 1650 to 1960 kind of worldview of colonialism. And with the increase in philosophical consciousness that's happened, I think the people of the planet would like to have that stopped. we can have the same utilization of these resources without the theft of these resources and the collection of billions of dollars by the few. And I'm not talking about communism either. Communism is just another big bullshit political system where the people at the top get everything. I'm talking about cooperation. If people live in a desert wasteland and have nothing, and they drill a hole in the ground and they find oil down there, which they can sell to the West, and then they can have a higher standard of living, why is that stuff there? Is it an accident? I don't think so. I think far too many of the places that have interesting resources that are desolate, the statistical chances of that being an accident is very high. So I think the history of this planet, in a spiritual sense, as a created situation, those things are there as part of the natural balance of things. You have no resources on top of the land there, but if you look under the land, there are resources. And they are put there so the people there who want to live there can flourish and prosper. And the locations of these things have been exploited for a long time and caused endless heartache since the invention of the long-range sailing ship. And now that we have worldwide electronic communication like this medium, we can see what's going on in other places around the world. And it can't be hidden anymore by distance. So now we have the tool to expose this kind of unethical behavior. Ethics is the concept that needs to come in. And I hope it does. The form of government we have now there is called a hypocrisy. And I think most government is hypocrisy. When the years ago when the major saber rattling happened in the Middle East, I tried to get some pen pals in Iran to see what's really going on. If I could talk to the people there without having to rely on the news, I might learn something. And I learned that the people that I got in contact with anyway, they were mostly young, computer literate university students. They speak English as well as we do. And most of them just wanted to get an education and get a job or start a business. And the main message they actually said is, please don't come over here and kill us. That's what they're expecting from the West, that the West will come over and just kill them. So regardless of the government, of that place, which will be an hypocrisy like everyone else with the government. The West talks about religious freedom and political freedom. Well, they have freedom to have their own religion in their own sovereign nation, and they have their own government in their own sovereign nation, and it's illegal for other countries to force their will on a foreign nation halfway around the globe. Always has been. It's called war. It's interesting that the West needs oil from this region, and something I came across in my research is the largest reserve of oil on the planet is in the middle of the United States. And it's a matter of national security that it's there. They don't talk about it. And it is the backup in case things get really bad and America has to become isolationist. There is oil there, but it's the backup. It's not going to be used unless America gets cut off. This commercial expedition that I talk about is started in earnest in 300 AD when the Roman Empire morphed over into the Holy Roman Empire. I joined the Fourth Way School in 1978, and the first thing they did with the new students was show us a film which was the history of the Roman Catholic Church butchering everyone who would have been a problem to them or competition to them in Europe, the British Isles, Ireland, and the small islands that are between Ireland and Newfoundland. They killed the Druids and the midwives and the herbalists, anyone of that ilk, and they wanted a clean sweep of anyone who believed in anything other than the one God. And in my research last year, I found out there was a Hermetic school in Wales, near Mount Snowdon. And there was 600,000 students there who had come from all over Russia, Europe, the Middle East to study there. They were all killed by the Romans. And there was a companion school in Ireland where there were 400,000 students. They were also slaughtered by the Romans. And Hermeticism is more like a New Age religion where people talk about the universe being a cosmic consciousness kind of event coming from Source or God or whatever you want to call it, and that we have some part to play in it. And the current situation is God is God and you are nothing, and line up, shut up, pay your taxes. The dumbing down of the population has been going on since the Dead Sea Scrolls were placed in those jars. The information in the Dead Sea Scrolls, if you had that in those days, which I think was about 1500 before Christ, it was a death penalty for knowing that stuff, which was Hermeticism. So this phrase, the New World Order, and people being worried about it. Don't worry about it. It's been in place for 3,000 years. You're just finding out about it now. Even the I Ching or I Ching, which goes back, was an ancient book when Confucius had it. Says mankind is born into a preponent system of relationships, which means the powers around you were already there before you were even born. So what hope do you have of doing anything about it? And what you can do about it is to vote with your feet and not participate mentally or physically in it. You can put your attention more on your artistic endeavors, or having fun, or building love and strength within your family and friends, rather than being stressed out all the time. Human race means to race for the big cookie, and when you get the big cookie, all you have is a big cookie, and no guarantee of happiness. Also, as I find companies that are committing ecological crimes, I stop buying their stuff. And there's a book called The 300, which is about the top 300 family/businesses that own our world, or our world of commerce, things we buy. And if you knew who they were, you could stop supporting that system. And the onus is on you to go and buy that book and read it and take action yourself. I did find out about one big oil company doing something horrendous in South America, so I stopped buying their product. Although I'm not naive enough to think that maybe every one of those big companies has an ecological crime somewhere, so I might wind up on a bicycle. As the witch did in The Wizard of Oz. She was actually a very early environmentalist in Kansas. Now, if you are a traumatized veteran, or if you know a traumatized veteran, this is a cranial electrostimulator. A very simple machine. This puts out frequencies that normalize the neurotransmitters in your brain. And it's good for insomnia and stress, post-traumatic stress syndrome, chronic pain, anxiety, which are a lot of the... It does about 60 things, but I'm only allowed to say 4 things. This kind of machine is being sold for about $700 in the world of commerce. I've arranged to get these for $2.25 for veterans. And it's very simply operated. You just clip it on your ears with ear clips and turn it on. It takes about 40 minutes to deal with depression, anxiety, brain fog, drug addiction, things like that. So I'm offering this to you and saying, if you're very, very upset, please hold on, because as long as life is in your body, you have a chance. And I'm sure you saw that on the battlefield. Tony Robbins, famous motivator, is also offering one of his CD sets free to veterans. Just the one that would help the most with getting going after having been traumatized. So I have I have a medical website where I make medical products. It's called cardstonmed.com. You can go there and see this. And I have a huge page on post-traumatic stress syndrome and another huge page on Gulf War syndrome. That's what I've done in this arena. So I wish you best of luck, and I hope that we can stop worldwide imperialism, which has always walked on the backs of young patriots from the country that's doing the imperialistic move. What this planet needs is good management, not good government. And I used to work for a management consulting firm, and they stopped doing governments. There was big money in it, but they never implemented any of these suggested improvements. So they decided, although we're making good money, we're just wasting our time and talent, so we're not going to do that anymore. So that's where that's at. And if you follow the work of Thomas Sheridan, who's the new lion on the scene, you'll find out that the people above us are psychopaths and behaving in a psychopathic manner. Ergo, the psychopathic planet that we live on. So I'm going to go back to doing what I do, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you know a veteran who's suffering, show this to them, or have them go to my website, Cardston, C-A-R-D as in dog, S-T-O-N as in Norman, med.com, and read the Gulf War Syndrome and Post-Traumatic Stress Syndrome pages. Okay?